Well, let's go into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com is where you can find them online. If you want to stop by the office, no problem. Monday through Friday, business hours, normal business hours, 114th and Davenport, which is just south of 114th and Dodge. But when you get there, you're going to want to talk to them about a home loan. FHA, VA, and of course, conventional loans. And they're very, very customer service focused. So they like to sit down with the borrower or the would-be borrower and kind of really go through what you're doing and help you figure out what is the best route for you to go financing-wise, get you that pre-approval letter, which is so important because I tell you what, there was an article in this week's Grow Omaha newsletter by Joe Finley from NP Dodge, who does our residential market report. And he said, hey, you know, these home prices are declining nationwide, but not really here. The market is still very, very strong here. So you're going to want to have a good mortgage broker behind you like Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com. All right, Brian, let's get into the news of the week. The first news item is Lutheran Family Services, which is a very large, effective, long-standing nonprofit here in Omaha. They are moving their headquarters Monday. For seemingly ever, they have been in the Dunklaw building, 24th Street between Dodge and Douglas. And starting Monday, they're moving to 7929 West Center Road. Why is that our lead story? Well, I'll tell you. The Dunklaw building, that site has been sold to a Minneapolis-based developer. And I went on their website and looked at their projects, and I saw the preponderance of their projects, urban buildings, kind of what we call them 4-over-1s, where you have the concrete pedestal and then 4 stories of wood frame above that. We're building these in urban Omaha like crazy right now. So Brian, this is cool because it's yet another sign that the development in the urban core and along the orbit line and along the street car line is going to accelerate and not slow down.
Absolutely. I mean, I know for many of us out there, we were really in tune with what Mayor Stothert was talking about this week when she kind of outlined everything that's been going on over the course of the year and then laid out the strategic roadmap for this coming year and years that are going to go beyond. And investment in the urban core, you know, continued redevelopment in that area that's only going to be a benefit and a help, you know, to the entire metro area and more broadly speaking, the state.
Well, and if you look at this particular site, the current orbit line runs along the north edge of it. It does, yeah. The future streetcar is 2 blocks to the south. And we know that Metro Area Planning Agency and Metro, the transit company, are actively studying a north-south orbit line that we understand would go right along 24th Street. So you could see more and more of this sort of thing happening, and it's encouraging. And what's cool about this to me is this is a property, no offense to Lutheran Family Services, which was there for a long time, was kind of a very underwhelming, 2-level.
It didn't wow anybody.
No, it wasn't that nice looking.
No, I mean, It wasn't.
And it was also a property that a lot of people probably didn't even occur to them. Oh, wow, we might redevelop that. You tend to think of the redevelopment as more high-profile properties, but you think about it, shoot, there's a half dozen or more properties in that part of downtown that the same thing could happen to them.
I don't think it's a matter of if, just a matter of when. I know the chamber has been really, really engaged with outreach, trying to reach out to some of these other players to come in and then do some of the great work like what's being done right now.
It's going to be fun to watch. It is fun to watch. Well, Brian, you mentioned Mayor Stothart's State of the City address, which took place Tuesday earlier this week in the city council chambers. One of the things that she said in that address that jumped out to me was this, quote, "In May, we will see the design for the Civic Auditorium development on the planning board agenda," end quote. And I think a lot of us have been anxious about that. There was talk, there was a preliminary site plan and kind of like an artist rendering that White Lotus had put out maybe, a year or two ago?
It's probably like 18 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, but this seems like it's getting more serious and moving forward. And, that's a big piece of land that has nothing on it downtown.
Right.
So we're excited to get that going. Another thing she said, which is not really news, but it's kind of fun to talk about it. She was talking about her time in office, and she said from the moment she started in June of 2013 to the end of last year, so almost 10 years, During that period of time, it's kind of a cool piece of trivia, the city of Omaha has issued more than 165,000 building permits for a total value of $9.5 billion. Decent amount of activity over the last 9.5 years. All right, let's see what's next. Brian, those people who were listening the last time you guest co-hosted on the show know that before you started in commercial real estate, you had a very long and distinguished career with the Air Force. So it's really appropriate that I'm going to throw this out here right now.
Sure.
The U.S. Air Force held a ribbon cutting last month for the newly refurbished Allman Maintenance Facility at Offutt Air Force Base. And this is where work is done on the E-48 Night Watch, the airborne command and control jet. $27 million project, took 2 years to do it, but this was part of that flooding back in 2019 that caused the renovation to be necessary.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who are listening and will view later, I mean, you'll remember some of those stark images, you know, as the water came on the southeastern side of Offutt Air Force Base, and one of the only structures that wasn't 18 feet underwater was that hangar complex, although it took a massive amount of water in the facility. So, you know, the Air Force and really the state of Nebraska really tried to line up the runway resurfacing and reconstruction project to coincide with the rebuild of the hangar, so that when we brought the aircraft back, both the RC-135s and then the E-4B, as well as a few other aircraft back to Offutt Air Force Base, that it wouldn't be that much longer before this maintenance facility would be reopened up. Another noteworthy thing that happened as part of the broader rebuild of that quadrant of the base is that they just recently broke ground on one of the Air Forces, if not it will be like the newest state-of-the-art facility for its security forces unit. So it's going to house, instead of being disparately located across the installation, they're going to have an indoor shooting range that's state-of-the-art. They're going to have the K-9 working dog facilities, as well as where all the base defense operations center, also known as the BDOC.
And that's on base.
That's
property.
on base proper, correct.
Okay. And any idea how long it'll take to build that? Probably maybe a year or so?
Yeah, it's going to be about a year, and then they're going to the mega project, if you will, is they're building kind of what they colloquially know as like the next gen campus.
Okay.
But it's going to be quite the structure that in total is going to be as large square footage wise, or very close to the new Stratcom building.
Holy cow.
It's going to be very big.
And that'll be off base, right?
No, it's going to be on base.
Oh, that'll be on base too.
There is a project that's being planned with the city that's going to be outside the fence line. That's part of nuclear command and control, kind of center of excellence. It's going to be partnering industry with academia, with the military to do whatever they do. It's secret squirrel stuff. We can't talk about it. You know.
And because so many non-military involved in that, is that why they're building that outside the fence?
Yeah, so it's much like other things that are going on, they want to bring in people from inside the state, and then more broadly speaking from the Midwest, that are subject matter experts. And quite honestly, it can be a hassle to get all those humans on Offutt Air Force Base proper all the time. So I think it just made a lot more sense to put it outside the fence line, and also some of the land that, if I'm not mistaken, was donated by the Walter Scott Foundation.
How cool is that? And that's encouraging to hear. So right there are four significant things happening on or immediately outside related to Offutt Air Force Base. And, sometimes I think in recent years we talked about those couple of commands that we tried to get and we didn't get, even though we were this close to getting them. Then all of a sudden you realize that, well, this place is still moving forward and growing and expanding and becoming more and more vibrant and vital to, the Air Force and the Pentagon as a whole all the time, which is encouraging, because Offutt is, pretty much about the biggest employer in the entire metro area. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes UNMC campus, depending on how you define it, might be there, but
they're
Offutt's right up there.
They're in the top three.
Yeah, right up there. Okay, a couple other items before we wrap up here for the news. We sometimes like to really hit on the hard-hitting, chop-busting news, which is some serious journalism here. Yeah. But here goes anyway. And that is, we got a new baby giraffe.
Oh, we do, yeah.
At the zoo. And I think this is pretty cool. We got a new baby giraffe.
And a new baby elephant, too.
Well, the elephant was just a few weeks ago, and he was the third elephant calf born in the zoo in a little over a year. And I think those 3 elephants are like 75% of elephants born in the United States during that period of time. And we got a 4th elephant on the way. But this giraffe calf, she was born really early Sunday. She was a nice sized baby, 108 pounds. And 5'7". That takes a lot of talent for a mother to birth a 5'7" baby. But Zola, the 8-year-old mother, pulled it off. And so these high-profile births continue at the zoo, and that's just so cool. And this after the week they had last week when they got all these awards.
I mean, they just had an amazing stretch run here. Being best, named best zoo in the country, and then with the Asian Highlands exhibit being named the best exhibit in the country. And then finally, in its opening weekend, if I'm not mistaken, for the Wildlife Safari Park that's out in Ashland. And so that's going to be packed, but they've put a lot of money into that as well. So really I'm not sure if his title is the executive director, of the zoo, but they're continuing to add value, attractions, exhibits, and clearly they're adding to the population of the zoo. And hopefully they do this whole naming contest again, because I know that was pretty popular the last time that they did it.
Well, it's so cool for Omahans to go visit, and kudos to the zoo for doing such an important job conserving these species and taking such good care of them as they do at the zoo and at the safari. So there's your news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.